The Pandit's mind ran decidedly in an erotic direction. In his first class, I recall, he gave us a colorful account of creation. It was also from the Rig Veda, only more flamboyant than my grandmother's. After the one had removed darkness and created the primordial waters, his seed produced the Hiranyagarbha, the golden womb, usually called the golden egg. One day the egg separated itself into two shells. One became the sky and the other earth, and the yolk became the sun. In the beginning arose Hiranyagarbha, who was the one Lord of creation. He held in place the earth and the sky. The Pandit explained that the egg was the universal germ from which everything else appeared. It had both female and male aspects. The embryo was female, which was fertilized by the male seed. After the cosmic being got a companion, he wanted to copulate with her, but the female fled from his embraces, thinking that there was something wrong and insidious in uniting with her producer. She assumed various disguises. She took the form of a doe. He became a stag and he copulated with her. She turned into a cow. He became a bull. She then changed into a mare. He became a horse, and so on to ants. This was how everything was created, including human beings. These charged tales of the Pandit did not fail to arouse us, and the golden egg became a persistent visitor in my dreams. Eggs were a forbidden delight in our vegetarian home, and his added to their attraction. And this added to their attraction. Once some nights, it was Isha that seemed to split from a body, turn into a naked woman, and run away from my embrace. I thus began to live the clandestine life of the imagination that emerged from the Pandit's Vedic account of beginnings, with Isha making it all too real. This rich nocturnal fantasy world stood in stark contrast to my pessimistic days in the missionary school, where priests and black gowns were walking their rounds and brains binding with prayers my joys and desires. I rebelled at the idea of original sin. I could not think of myself as a born sinner, as a result of the fall of man from Adam's rebellion in Eden when he ate the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge. Unlike the Christian account, which left me with feelings of shame and guilt, the Pandit offered a decidedly optimistic view of creation based on calm. In the next class, the Pandit took us on a tour of our neighboring Shiva temple around the corner from where I lived. At the entrance, he pointed to a lingam enclosed within a yoni sculpted in stone. Shiv, he explained, is a god of fire who transforms the heat of desire into tapas, spiritual heat, through the practice of yoga. Although sexual fluids normally flow downwards and out, Shiva's meditation forces them to flow upwards, transforming them into a powerful spiritual force. The Pandit then guided us to a platform in the temple that he called a stage for the dance of Shiva, where the god dances his cosmic dance and playfully brings about the union of male and female, and this in turn leads to the birth of consciousness and the creative flowering of a world. We mortals, of course, experience the world as Maya, illusion, of separate and ever changing forms and objects rather than as an underlying divine unity. The Pandit asked us to try and imagine in our minds the dance of Shiva and referred to the performance as God's Leela, divine play. By now we were growing restless, and so he let us loose to play football on the temple grounds, watching us from afar with an amused look. In the following class, the Pandit asked, why does God act? One of us replied, to make things happen in the world, and the piped in, he acts to do good. A third said, to reward good people and punish the bad ones. None of us had got it right. The Pandit explained that God is playful. He dances and creates the world in play and thus makes the world sacred. He is naughty like the god Krishna. He steals butter, plays tricks, flirts with pretty young cowherdess, and defeats demons. All the spirit of light hearted sport. He does it all for no other reason but the sheer joy of playing. He plays for its own sake without any grand purpose. This is his Leela. God is not like human beings, added the Pandit. We act because we desire something that we don't have. He has everything and doesn't need anything, so he acts for the fun of it. He likes it, much like you playing football on the grounds of the Shiv temple. He compared the divine pleasure of Leela to a great monarch who lacks nothing but goes on to the playing field for the sake of amusing himself, or a healthy man who wakes up in the morning from deep sleep and breaks into a dance merely to express his own exuberance. The following day, I innocently mentioned in the Bible class at school the Pandit's idea of God creating the world out of desire for play. Father Antony pounced on me, saying that God has no needs or desires, and he certainly does not play. If he had needs, then he wouldn't be God. When I play, when I mentioned this to my grandmother, she said that the English in India were renowned for their cold-blooded, temperate nature and stiff upper lip. Their passions were restricted to property, propriety, and prudishness, and she wondered how they reproduced at all. I later overheard my mother complain to my father that this sort of talk to my grandmothers was most unsuitable for her son's ear. The high point of the Pandit's lessons was a sensual story from the Shiv Puran in which the creator Brahma sank into the darkness of his interior and created from his vision a female of unequaled beauty, Sandhya. With billows of blue-black hair, she stood before his gaze, said the Pandit. Neither in the world of humans nor of gods existed a woman of such perfection. So perfect was she that Brahma could not take his eyes off her. He wanted to possess her, and strange thoughts of desire ran through the god's mind, as well as in ours. In the shifting gusts of confusion, Isha began to return in my nocturnal imagination in the form of the naked body of dusky Sandhya. She would split from my body in my dream. I remember feeling the warmth of her nakedness as vividly as my mother's body in that chilly morning in Lahore. Sandhya's intense heat would permeate my body. I would try to become one with her and I would wake up. My cheek would still be warm from her kisses. To make certain that I was not dreaming, I would pinch myself. I knew that I was awake and conscious. Gradually, she would dissolve in those few seconds and vanish from my mind as I became fully awake. a nocturnal discharge remaining the only evidence of my gratified body. Even at that age, I was skeptical of the existence of either of Christian God or the Hindu Atman, soul. But I knew what I preferred: the playful, fun-loving Hindu gods to the jealous, wrathful God of the Old Testament. I certainly believed in Isha's ability to tempt and torment me. The later distress seems to get mixed up in my memory with the blurry moments of half wakefulness when I would variously imagine the golden egg and Brahma's primordial urge to possess the blue brown haired Sandhya.